There's a huge environmental problem happening right under our noses. Well, actually, right in our water. And it starts with something we all think of as essential for life. So today, we're diving into the story of nutrient pollution. How we are, believe it or not, overfeeding our planet's most important ecosystems. And the results are pretty devastating.
It's a weird idea, isn't it? Nutrients are supposed to be good. They help things grow. But what happens when the very things that are supposed to give life start to choke it out instead? That's the strange paradox we're going to unravel today. I bet you've seen it. You're looking at a lake or a pond that used to be clear, and now it's just covered in this thick, gross green sludge. It just feels wrong, and that's because it is. This is the scene of the crime, so to speak. So what on earth is responsible for turning a vibrant home for fish and plants into this silent, murky graveyard?
Yeah, this kind of takeover, it doesn't happen with a big explosion. It's quiet. It's sneaky. These extra nutrients just kind of seep into the water, totally unseen, and they slowly set the stage for a really dramatic and destructive flip.
Okay, so it's time to pull back the curtain and identify our main suspects. And I'm telling you, they're not what you'd expect. We're not talking about some scary industrial poison or heavy metals here. Nope. The culprits are actually the fundamental building blocks of all life.
So here it is, the official definition. Nutrient pollution isn't about some weird, toxic chemical. It's simply having way, way too much of two essential nutrients, nitrogen and phosphorus. These aren't invaders from another planet. They're totally natural. The problem is they're in the wrong place, at the wrong time, and in just completely overwhelming amounts.
Let's meet our two main culprits, nitrogen and phosphorus. Nitrogen is absolutely key for growth. Think of it as the protein shake for plants. And phosphorus, it's all about energy. Now, in a healthy, balanced system, these guys are what we call limiting factors. Their scarcity is what keeps everything in check. But when they flood the system, all those natural checks and balances just get thrown right out the window.
So where is all this extra nitrogen and phosphorus coming from? Well, when you start looking, you realize they're coming from pretty much everywhere. Fertilizers washing off of huge farms, all the sewage from our cities, and yep, even the runoff from our own perfectly manicured lawns and driveways. This is how a massive environmental problem connects directly back to our day-to-day lives.
All right, so we've got our culprits and we know where they're coming from. But how do they actually do the damage? This isn't a simple case of poisoning. Instead, what they do is kick off this deadly chain reaction that basically suffocates an entire ecosystem from the inside out.
The sciencey name for this whole deadly process is eutrophication, but you can really just think of it as force-feeding an ecosystem. At first, you get this huge burst of growth, which sounds good, right? But it actually triggers this cascade of events that leads to a total collapse and oxygen starvation.
So how does this chain reaction actually play out? Well, it all starts with that nutrient overload. For algae, this is like an all-you-can-eat buffet, and their population just explodes. That's the algal bloom. This green sludge gets so thick that it blocks out all the sunlight, killing off the important plants living on the bottom. But the real disaster begins when that massive bloom of algae eventually dies and sinks. Zillions of bacteria rush in to decompose all that dead stuff, and while they're working, they use up almost all the oxygen in the water. That right there, that oxygen depletion is the killer blow.
And the result of that oxygen getting sucked out of the water? It's just catastrophic. It creates this ripple effect of death and decay that completely transforms the ecosystem. It's truly a cascade of devastating consequences.
The aftermath is just grim. I mean, some of these algal blooms are directly toxic themselves. The lack of oxygen creates these huge underwater dead zones where fish and other critters literally suffocate. You get massive fish kills. Biodiversity just plummets. And what you're left with is a murky, foul, oxygen-starved environment. Now, it might be easy to think of this as some far-off problem, something happening out of sight in a river somewhere. But the fallout from these dead zones, it doesn't stay in the water. It has a very real impact on our health, on our economy, and just on our quality of life.
For one, those toxins from the harmful algal blooms can get into our drinking water, and that could cause everything from nasty skin rashes to serious stomach problems. And from an economic standpoint, the damage is huge. The fishing industry goes belly up when there are no fish to catch, and who wants to go to a beach or a lake that's become unsafe and just plain disgusting? Tourism takes a massive hit.
Okay, I know that's a really bleak picture, but here's the good news. It's not hopeless. Not at all. We caused this problem, which means we have the knowledge and the tools to fix it.
The whole goal is to just stop overfeeding our waters and help them get back to their natural, healthy balance. And the solutions really boil down to targeting the problem at its source. For agriculture, it means using fertilizer way more efficiently, and also creating natural barriers, like strips of trees along rivers, to catch that runoff. For our cities, it means upgrading our wastewater treatment plants so they can specifically pull these nutrients out. And on a policy level, we need smarter rules for products like detergents, and, this is key, we need robust monitoring systems to give us an early warning before things get out of hand.
So, the path forward is actually pretty clear. The science isn't a mystery anymore, and we have the solutions ready to go. Nutrient pollution isn't some puzzle we can't solve, it's a problem we created, and restoring the health of our planet's waters is a choice that's entirely up to us to make.